Hello there, it's Cara here from the Thrive programme for Vaginismus. I wanted to record this short video just to give you some insight into what's going on behind the scenes in order for vaginismus to occur. So what you have in the picture here, you've got a picture of an iceberg, and the bit that you can see, so the bit that's above the sea, represents the physical response of vaginismus. So the physical response being the vaginal muscles just clenching up, meaning that sex is either very painful, difficult, or it just doesn't happen at all, in that you're not able to insert anything inside your vagina. I see this in terms of it being the symptom, the end result, rather than the actual cause of what's going on. And the cause with vaginismus is represented by what's happening underneath the water, so the bigger part of the iceberg. And the cause being emotional and psychological factors that are causing that very physical response. And I'm just going to talk you through what some of the main ones are. So the first one we come to is negative and catastrophic thinking. So negative thinking is just as it sounds, feeling really negative about penetration, assuming that, well, what's the point? It's not going to happen. Or catastrophic thinking is that worst case scenario thinking, like, oh, it's going to be so painful. What if I tear? What if I bleed? What if my partner leaves me? So it's that real worst case scenario, scary thinking. The next one is being hypervigilant about pain. And hypervigilance is when you're focusing in, you're zooming in on any painful feelings. And it's completely understandable why any woman with vaginismus is going to do that if you've experienced pain previously. The problem with being hypervigilant about pain is that even normal vaginal sensations can be misinterpreted as pain if you're attempting penetration in a very anxious state. So things that are just would be normal or perhaps even enjoyable if you were feeling more relaxed are thought of as incredibly painful as you're zooming in on those feelings. The next one we have is limiting beliefs, and all women with vaginismus have certain limiting beliefs about the condition and also about their body, including the beliefs that there must be something physically wrong with their body, which is completely understandable. Of course, if you don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, the emotional and psychological factors that cause vaginismus, it's easy then to attribute it to it being something wrong with your vagina, which it's never the case. Other limiting beliefs is the belief that it's really difficult to resolve vaginismus, takes a very long time, which really isn't the case if you are engaging in the right kind of intervention. The next one we have is squeamishness. So some women with vaginismus have this, other women don't. Just being really squeamish about your body, not wanting to touch yourself down there, certainly not wanting to put your fingers inside, and just feeling really quite icky with that, about that. Very closely linked to feelings of disgust as well. And these kind of things would make you want to avoid penetration. Overthinking. So all of us can be prone to overthinking in certain situations. When you overthink vaginismus or you overthink penetration, the problem is that you're taking a thought that might have started off just as a little tiny thing. You're adding more and more thoughts to that. And all the while that you're doing that, you're overthinking it, you're ruminating, you're obsessing about it. The problem is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the reason that you're doing it is because you want to find a solution, you want to feel better about this, but actually generally all overthinking ever does is it makes you feel worse, it makes you feel more stressed, more anxious about the situation. Next one we have is relationship dynamics. So this is an interesting one in that for some women with vaginismus, their relationship with their partner has absolutely nothing to do with the vaginismus. But for other women, it's got everything to do with it. And how relationship dynamics can affect vaginismus is if there is resentment in your relationship, you might not want to have sex with your partner. If you're emotionally closed off, you might also be physically closed off. Also just feelings of embarrassment maybe about your body or other responses, feeling self-conscious in the bedroom, feelings of a fear of being judged by him. So all of these kind of feelings can make you feel, quite unrelaxed in the bedroom, just adding to that feeling of tension when it comes to penetration. The next one we have is just feeling out of control, feeling powerless, which so many women with vaginismus do. And again, understandably why, if you don't understand what's causing the symptom, if you feel as though vaginismus is just happening to you, or it's just occurring out of the blue, or it's this unconscious response that you've got no control over, of course you're going to feel out of control, and of course you're going to feel powerless. Avoidance, so feeling out of control, often leads to avoidance, as many of these other thinking styles and responses do as well. Because of course, if you're hypervigilant about pain, you'll want to try and avoid it. If you're having catastrophic thoughts about penetration, again, it makes absolute sense as to why you would want to avoid it. The problem with avoidance is that every time you do avoid any form of penetration, you just end up feeling even more powerless, because you're giving yourself the message, I can't cope with this. And the final one is just self-doubt, which is just feelings that you have towards yourself, linked to your self-esteem, linked to your self-beliefs. And of course, if you're doubting your ability to be able to relax or achieve successful penetration, then that can very easily become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you will end up tensing up those muscles if you lack that belief in yourself. So that gives you an overview, a very brief overview of what's going on, the emotional and psychological factors that are occurring in order to create vaginismus. And as much as there's a few there, I do promise you that all of these responses, all of these thinking styles are completely changeable. They're simple thinking errors, actually, when you understand what's going on and you have the self-insight to recognise them and know what to do in order to change them. And the Cure Your Vaginismus and Thrive programme tells you exactly that. It gives you back that insight, gives you that control over your responses in order to overcome vaginismus. And you can find out more about that on my website, vaginismus-cure.com. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that was helpful.